So, complete rationality to this video called something like Atheism and Intellectual Elitism. And then Skeptical Heretic did a response video to that, and because I like to always be the caboose on a response train, I thought I'd make a response to him. It's just a few points I'd like to respond to. Let's see what he has to say.
Hello, Complete Rationality. You won't enjoy this.
Incidentally, me and Complete Rationality were just hanging out, smoking some fine reefers, and he just kept going on about how much he enjoyed this video, so I mean...
This is a response to your video, YouTube Atheism and Intellectual Elitism. Now, let's talk a little bit about your video first and sort of set the stage for my critique. At least as I perceive it, and I would recommend anyone who would like to have the full story go watch it. I'll link it below. I view your video as a I know you are, but what am I sort of video.
Actually, it was more of an I'm rubber and you're glue type of video. Your ignorance of schoolyard rejoinders, it's frankly kind of embarrassing.
See, Bionic Dance, there's this one video she did, and it was just fucking amazing. You know that part in Star Wars where Obi-Wan Kenobi says, only a Sith deals in absolutes?
No, I'm not a complete fucking nerd. I don't know any stupid Star Wars shit. Oh, Christ, I'm gonna alienate my subscribers. I mean, while Star Wars is a perfectly acceptable movie to watch, and certainly not nerdy in any way, it just really isn't to my taste. But please go on with your point. And when that stuff I was saying about Star Wars, I was joking.
And I fucking laugh every time I hear that line, because the irony inherent in it is fabulous. It's just great. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. It's funny. It's funnier than all those other weird dichotomy phrases we have, like jumbo shrimp and shit like that.
I believe you mean oxymoron, which is a subset of what you'd call paradoxical statements. Incidentally, here's a paradoxical statement. I mean, it really is an intractable logical paradox, so what is it? Generalizations are never true. See? Because it's a generalization. That I'm just throwing that out there because you seem to think that generalizations are never true. But you can't think that. You can't think that and still be sane, because as a robot would say, does not compute.
And Bionic Dance does it in her videos. Remember the one where she talked about how not all atheists are the same, and she does this while addressing the audience of theists and sticking them all in the same bucket? It's that same sort of lack of fucking thought that inspired me to make my video to her that you linked in yours, didn't tag your video with. So, of course, someone had to point me out to your 8-minute diatribe on how you don't like the way your friends are being treated. And I don't give a fuck what your opinion is of my form of conversational discourse. What I do care about is all the little negative things that you try to ascribe to my actions without any sort of knowledge. You never have the conversation with me.
Oh yes, because you're such a unique snowflake. Absolutely none other like you in all of human history. You're just completely unfathomable in every fucking way. La-dee-da.
You just assert that I'm a view whore.
Oh yes, because it's absolutely insane to assume that somebody getting on YouTube and making videos, taking the time out of their day to make videos and post them, might actually want people to view them. Like, it's just totally nutty to think that somebody might not want the work that they put into their videos to be completely and totally fucking futile. That's just insane, because people are always doing shit that's totally futile because it's fun.
A bandwagoner, out for ponage, and a whole bunch of other things that are just entirely negative connotations when it comes to discourse.
I have no idea what the words bandwagoner and ultraponage mean. Come to think of it, I don't know what discourse means. Now that I think about it, I shouldn't have put any comment in here, Kevin.
See, maybe there's a couple of things you're not getting. Like, when people make rampant generalizations and don't pay attention to what they're saying, they're not thinking.
Well, that's in itself a generalization. Hey, let me do what you're doing with that and come up with a counterexample, and then we can just say that that totally disproves the shit you're saying. Because, okay, here we go. When you just make rank generalizations and you're not paying attention to what you're saying, you're not thinking. Well, what if I'm making rank generalizations and not paying attention to what I'm saying, but I'm solving complex differential equations in my head? I would clearly be thinking. Disproven, biatch.
They're just spewing shit out. It's rhetoric. And rhetoric is polarizing.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Generalization police, I got you again, man. Rhetoric has a polarizing effect. Well, rhetoric is language designed to have a persuasive or impressive effect. So, if you are using rhetoric on a crowd, all of whom have the similar capacity to be persuaded toward a point of view, then that rhetoric will not have a polarizing effect. QED. Rhetoric does not always have a polarizing effect. You know, you're against generalizations, but you just keep making all these fucking generalizations. I mean, I feel like your position is how do I put it?
Instead, you say videos detailing recent attacks on bionic dance. Also, be sure to look for oversimplifications and intellectual elitism. Really? What sort of oversimplifications of her well-nuanced points did I lay down?
Well, and I find this is a common problem on YouTube. Wait, no, not yet. One more second.
Outside of my general critique of bionic dance, you need to stop generalizing people.
No, just one more second.
But then she goes and responds to a video made by Awesome Rants, who, personally, I think is one of the better YouTubers out there.
And here we are. The reason you like Awesome Rants is because she is very smart for someone her age, but she is still a teenager, and she still, to an extent, uses teenage logic. Let me just lay out some teenage logic for you. You get in the car with a teenager, and you say, put on your seatbelt. And the teenager says, you know, these things don't always save lives. And you're like, well, you just put on the seatbelt. They usually save lives. And they're like, you know, I know a friend. She was in a car wreck, and if she'd been wearing her seatbelt, the police said she would have died. And you're like, well, you just put on the fucking seatbelt already, right? Do you see the logic? They're like, how can I explain it better than that? You keep attacking these generalizations, but like we really need you to tell us that generalizations aren't true in every single situation? They're called generalizations, for fuck's sake. Of course they're only generally true. Any fucking moron knows that. But like some teenager, you're like, no, you can't say that because in some instances it might not be true. And it's like, well, I wasn't saying it was true in every single instance. I just assumed that you had a glimmer of intelligence.
And to my audience, I strongly recommend you subscribe to her. Awesome Rants made very much the same video that all of Bionic Dance's detractors make, because she doesn't learn from her mistakes, and she doesn't change what she does.
Forgive me if this seems insulting, but another way to look at that is she completely disregards the wrist flapping of a bunch of contentious morons.
And it appears neither do you. And so this form of what you call elitism is actually pure criticism.
Well, that criticism is based on an oversimplification of the opposing viewpoint and then opposition of that oversimplification, which I don't know if that's elitism, but it's kind of assholey.
That's all it is. It's criticism of her weak points and her weak arguments. and her incredible inability to do anything other than spew emotionally charged rhetoric onto the internet.
Ain't that one of them there generalizations which you say is always bad? Illogically.
But you don't seem to like it when people call a spade a spade. You don't like that at all. But that's what it is. She's a generalizer. She's the one who's guilty of what she attempts to paint other people with. And your oversimplification of the detractions against her is exactly what you're arguing about in your video, while you have a picture of Hitch up, the poster child of intellectual elitism.
Holy shit. I just thought that he had an uncanny resemblance to Christopher Hitchens. Now I guess that was kind of silly of me.
But she didn't answer my question. Instead, she decided to use a very ingratiating little tone like she was talking to a child when she replied to Awesome Rants. And you know what that is, buddy? It's pure disrespect. And here you are, supporting her bad behavior and disrespect.
Disrespect. Seriously, what are you, a fucking chimpanzee? Aren't you a little too evolved for stupid shit like respect?
Or do you think you're justified because you're defending poor helpless bionic Dance, who has double my subscriber count?
Well, you know, I can't speak for him, but I can speak for me. I don't personally think that I need to defend Bionic Dance. She's doing just fine. I think she's making some buku dinero on this whole YouTube business. I would just say that when people use teenage logic against a rational and internally consistent point of view, well, yeah, it's kind of annoying, and I just want to say, hey, knock that shit off. I mean, seriously, what kind of argument is it like, you're making generalizations, and generalizations are bad because they're not always true? And it's like, yeah, and because you know they're not always true, you can say to yourself, well, she means this generally, not in those specific instances where it's not true. But instead of doing that, you act like you actually have an argument against the generalization instead of, you know, familiarity with how the fucking language works.
And I learned from it. Unlike the people you're defending, I don't sit down and say, I won't address criticism until someone who I think is sufficiently weak comes to criticize me.
I don't know all the people that he's defending, but let's just say that it's Bionic Dance, and let's say that the criticism is the one that I know that you have of her, which is she generalizes too much. Well, let's try to look at this from her perspective. I know it's difficult to try to see outside of the perspective of your own skull, but she's probably thinking, you know what, my videos are already somewhat long. The median time is something like 10 minutes and 45 seconds, and their mean time is roughly 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Maybe I should not add things into the videos to make them even longer, because this will reduce the chances of a person watching them all the way through. So, for the sake of linguistic economy, maybe I shouldn't take the time to explain the motherfucking obvious. To wit, if she says something like, theists do this, she just assumes that people will say, hey, ding ding, Bionic Dance is making a generalization here, and because I'm not a complete fucking retard, I understand that generalizations aren't always true, so I will assume that when she is saying this, she is saying, this is generally true, but there are some exceptions. Then, Bionic Dance herself doesn't actually have to add in all of those unnecessary words, because people who don't get that are fucking retarded. And the criticism along that line is retarded. And it's perfectly rational to disregard retarded-ass criticism.
I go after the best criticisms, as I would expect you to.
Gee, how surprising. Other people don't feel constrained by your expectations. You ain't the Queen of England, pal.
Especially if you're going to use the tag complete rationality. I would actually expect you to attempt to divorce your personal opinion from the observations that you're bringing in. And perhaps then you'd recognize that Grappling Ignorance made a phenomenal video talking about an entirely different topic than I had in mind. And he mentioned my video, and he was right to do so, because I talked about the historicity of religion, and he talked about modern religion. And I agree with his viewpoints on modern religion. I think he is a fine, upstanding new atheist because he is nuanced, he is intelligent, and he makes the distinction between reality, his opinion, and the different labels that are used. But you don't, and neither does Bionic Dance, and neither does Billsy Bob.
Well, let me just throw something out there. You have a problem with Bionic Dance, Billsy Bob, Complete Rationality. You might even have a problem with me, although honestly, I couldn't figure out what you could possibly dislike about me. I mean, I'm adorable, man. But let's look at who you like, who you feel are very cogent and coherent with it, well-spoken, well-reasoned people. There's Awesome Rands, who's a 15-year-old girl, and then there's Grappling Ignorance, who's a teacher who probably spends most of his day talking to 15-year-olds. I'm just going to throw that out there and let you draw your own conclusions from that. Anyway, this has been one of my responses to a response. Everybody have a nice morning, evening, night, mid-afternoon, or what the hell ever.